So we are going to start on Atomic Habits today. Love this book, incredible read, and I think it's going to be an amazing conversation for us as we get ready for this upcoming year. So as we look at 2026, things can be appear to be overwhelming, right? Maybe some of us have had a tough 2025 in our businesses. Uh, Perhaps some of us have accumulated a little bit of personal debt because the business is hard, or even our health, right, may have gone sideways and we're not sure about the next steps. But whatever the case, the task ahead, it just looks really big. And the key really for us for transformation to make a difference in our lives and our businesses, it's really not looking at the projects as something that's so big, but looking at the small improvements over time that can truly make a big difference, right? A 1% improvement each day works out to be 37 times better at the end of the year. Conversely, a 1% decline gets you nearly down to zero in a year. So in the book, it starts out with a story about British cycling in 2003. And I told my wife about it. She loves this story because it's about bike riding, right? So the British team had 100 years of mediocrity, right? They were terrible. And in 1908, the British cyclers had won just one gold medal at the Olympic Games. That was it in the 100 years, right? In the 110 years of Tour de France, they didn't have any gold medals. And they were so bad that even the top bike manufacturers were like, we don't know if we want to sponsor you because we're worried about ruining our reputation. So everything changed when they hired this guy. His name's Dave Brailsford. And he actually committed to taking a look at everything and seeing where they could improve, right? An aggregation of every little small improvement they could make. So they took a look at everything, right? And no stone was left unturned. So they redesigned the bikes to make them more comfortable, the bike seats. They rubbed alcohol on the tires just for a little bit better grip. They asked the riders to wear electrically heated overshorts to maintain their muscle temperature. They changed the fabric from their outdoor to indoor racing gear so that it's lighter and more aerodynamic. They had different massage gels to improve muscle recovery. Even the type of pillow mattresses they used to improve their sleep. I mean, they literally looked at everything, right? And so, what was the end result of that? 5 years later, from 2003, when they started implementing those minor changes, in 2008 Olympics, they won 60% of the gold medals available. 4 years later in London, they set 9 Olympic records and had 7 world records. The same year, Bradley Wiggins became the first British cyclist to win the Tour de France. And the next year, Chris Froome, he won the race and would go ahead and win in 2015, 16, 17, giving them 5 Tour de France wins in 6 years. All the time over, thinking back, looking in the history, 110 years, never won. And all of a sudden, everything changed. And all of this was due to the looking at all the minor changes they can make in every single area being 1% better. And so if we ask the question, even for ourselves, what small improvements could we make in our own life that would lead to massive change, right? The challenge is we overestimate the importance of just one defining moment and underestimate the value of small improvements on a daily basis. So really it comes down to this idea of the compound effect. One of Bobby's favorite books, I think. And it's this idea, right? We know that interest as it compounds, it multiplies over years. And for habits, it can be the same thing. But the challenge for us is that, we may try it for a little bit. We save a little bit of money, and we do that for a couple days and nothing changes, right? Because it's only just a little bit. We go to the gym once or twice, and guess what? I'm still out of shape, right? We slide back into our old routines. The tricky part is it's the same as true for bad habits, right? If I eat a hamburger and fries and biggie size it, it doesn't move the needle that much if I just do that for one day. Or if I work late tonight, ignore my family, guess what? They're going to extend grace. So bad habits, if it's just once in a blue moon, doesn't make a difference. And yet, if I keep duplicating those mistakes, if I keep repeating bad decisions financially and they start compounding, that's when things get bad. And so success really is a product of our daily habits, not this once in a lifetime transformation. And so as we look at our businesses, as we look at 2026, as we look at our personal lives, we should be more concerned with our trajectory than our current results because time magnifies the margin between success and failure. So when we think about breakthrough moments, and this is the perfect time, right? Because we're thinking about the ice. Guess what happens at noon today, right? That's when our temperatures go above freezing. Because right now, our ice, still ice. And as if it's 25 degrees, it's still ice. 26 degrees, it's still ice. 27 degrees, it's still ice. Nothing happens. And then at 32, the ice begins to melt. That 1 degree shift doesn't seem like it would make a difference, but it has the opportunity to unlock huge change. And that's the same thing with our habits, right? There's going to be these breakthrough moments that often are the result of multiple changes, not just one. It's a tipping point, according to Malcolm Gladwell. And so when you start doing those habits, we don't see the change. It's that 25 degree, 26 degree, 27 degree. Man, we're still not seeing the change. 28 degrees, 29 degrees. And then all of a sudden when you hit that 32, that's when the magic happens. And so all big things, they come from small beginnings. The seed of every habit is in a single tiny decision, a commitment to these habits. So the author also says sometimes we need to be also looking at not the goals, but on the systems, because goals are about results. Systems are about the processes that lead to those results. And so what we don't want to do is just say, okay, well, I'll be happy when I reach that goal. I'll be happy when, I achieve this way. I'll be happy when I pay off this debt, right? And so happiness always becomes something in the future. What we have to do is embrace the journey. We have to celebrate the wins along the way. And ultimately, it's a commitment to the process that will determine your progress. Right? It's a commitment to the process that will determine your progress. So, you guys have heard me share this example before, but, yes, my kids graduated from high school. Jill graduated from college. And I could say, wow, that was amazing because they achieved that. And yet the success was in what? Their daily habits to study, to persevere, to push through. Like we can't ignore celebrating those wins. And too often we just wait till the end. And that's why we struggle with the transformation. So I love this quote. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And so what systems do we have in place for progress? What systems do we have in place for change? I love the word atomic because atomic actually refers to a tiny change. And again, the goal is 1% improvement. But the habits are part of just a larger system, right? And each one is fundamental to our overall improvement and success. So for us, guess what? Our health impacts our business. Are we eating right? Are we sleeping right? Are we taking care of ourselves so we're mentally sharp all day long? Financially, are we doing well? Are we saving the money so we can pour back into our business? What are we doing on a day-to-day basis to ensure that we're successful, right? Again, we overestimate the importance of one defining moment and underestimate the value of the small improvements on a daily basis. So the key really is small improvements over time can make a massive difference. So that's kind of my motto for this upcoming year is this 1% better. I got a couple of posters that I'm going to hang in the office and going to ask that question, right? And it's not just asking it on your business, it's asking it in every aspect of your life, your relationships, your faith, your finances, your work, right? What areas of life can we be 1% better? And maybe it's just as simple as, hey, I'm going to wake up earlier. I'm going to make my bed after I wake up. I'm going to, you know, just stack when we'll talk about it, stacking habits and things like that later. But how do we show up every day, every morning, and continue to work on those things? So